You think you're broke. I know. I can see it. You look at your bank account, $2,000, maybe $5,000, and you think, I'm nowhere. But let me tell you something you don't realize. You're richer than you think. Not because of your money, because of something else. Something most people will never have. Your mindset. See, I've met people with $10 million who think like broke people, and I've met people with $10,000 who think like millionaires. And I can tell you right now, the guy with $10,000 and the right mindset, he's going to end up wealthier than the guy with $10 million. Here are 8 signs you're already thinking like a rich person. If you have 3 or more of these, you're on your way to real wealth. Most people have 0. Rich people have all 8. Let's see where you are. Side number 1, you're comfortable being boring. Well, the first sign is simple. You're okay with being boring. See, poor people chase excitement. They want the thrill, the rush, the quick win. They're buying crypto at 2 a.m. They're gambling on meme stocks. They're looking for the next big thing, always. And you know what happens? They lose, over and over. Rich people, we're boring, painfully boring. I put money in an S&P 500 index fund. I hold it for 30 years. I don't check it every day. I don't panic when it drops. Boring. But here's the math. $10,000 in an index fund at 10% annual returns for 30 years becomes $174,000. That same $10,000, if you're trading in and out, chasing excitement, trying to time the market, you'll probably end up with less than you started with. I've watched it happen 1,000 times. So if you're sitting there thinking investing is boring, I wish something exciting would happen. Congratulations. You're thinking like a rich person. Boring makes you wealthy. Excitement makes you broke. Side number 2, you stop trying to impress people. Here's the second sign. You stopped caring what people think. See, poor people spend money to look rich. They buy the designer clothes, the fancy car, the expensive watch. Why? To impress people they don't even like. I'll tell you something. I'm worth $144 billion. I live in the same house I bought in 1958 for $31,500. I drive a car that's, well, it's old, nothing fancy. And you know what? I don't care what you think about it. That's the difference. When you're poor, you spend money on things to prove you're not poor. When you're rich, you don't need to prove anything. Let me give you the math. Let's say you buy a $40,000 car to impress people. You finance it, pay $600 a month for 6 years. That's $43,200 total. But if you bought a reliable $15,000 used car instead and invested that $600 a month for 30 years at 10%, you'd have $1.3 million. $1.3 million. To impress people who, let's be honest, don't actually care about you. So if you stopped buying things to impress people, if you're okay driving an old car or wearing cheap clothes, you're richer than you think. Because you understand something most people never will. Your net worth matters. Your image doesn't. Side number 3, you have money that works while you sleep. Now, here's the third sign. Your money started working for you. I don't care if it's $5 in dividends or $10 in interest. The amount doesn't matter. What matters is the moment. The moment you realize, I made money and I was sleeping. That's when everything changes. See, poor people trade time for money. They work, they get paid, they stop working, money stops. Rich people? Our money works 24/7. While we sleep, while we eat, while we're on vacation. Let me tell you what this really means. Let's say you own $1,000 in dividend stocks and they pay 3% annually. That's $30 a year. $30, nothing, right? Wrong. That $30 proves something. It proves you own assets, not just a job. And here's what happens next. You reinvest that $30. You add another $100, then $500, then $1,000. 10 years later, that $1,000 is now $10,000, paying you $300 a year. 20 years later, it's $50,000, paying you $1,500 a year. 30 years later, it's $174,000, paying you $5,220 a year while you sleep. That's the compounding. So, if you've ever received a dividend check, or interest payment, or rental income, even if it's tiny, you're richer than you think. Because you crossed the line, your money is working. Most people's money just sits there. Sig number 4, you read more than you scroll. Here's sign number 4. You read more than you scroll. See, I read about 500 pages a day, books, annual reports, research all day long. And people ask me, Warren, why do you read so much? Because knowledge compounds, just like money. The more you learn, the more you can learn. It builds on itself. Poor people, they're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, scrolling, hours every day. And at the end of the day, what did they learn? Nothing. Let me show you the opportunity cost. Let's say you spend 2 hours a day scrolling. That's 730 hours a year. If you spent that time reading instead, you could read about 70 books a year. 70 books on investing, business, psychology, whatever. After 10 years, that's 700 books. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think someone who's read 700 books on wealth building is going to make better decisions than someone who's watched 10,000 TikTok videos? Of course they are. And here's the thing. Every book I've read, every page, it's made me money, directly or indirectly. One idea from one book changed the way I think about investing and made me billions. So if you're reading this video description instead of scrolling past it, if you read books, if you actually consume real information, you're richer than you think, because you're building the only asset that can't be taxed or taken away, knowledge. Sig number 5, you think in decades, not days. Now, here's the 5th sign, and this one's big. You think in decades. Poor people think, what am I doing today? Rich people think, where will I be in 10 years? See, when you're broke, you're thinking about survival. What am I eating today? How do I pay this bill? What's happening this week? But when you start building wealth, your time horizon expands. You stop asking, what do I want today? And start asking, what do I want in 2035? Let me give you an example. Poor person thinking, I want a new iPhone. It's $1,000. I'll put it on my credit card. Rich person thinking, if I invest that $1,000 for 10 years at 10%, it becomes $2,594. Do I want a phone today? or $2,594 in 10 years? That's the difference. Time horizon. I bought Coca-Cola stock in 1988. It's been 37 years, and I've never sold a single share. Why? Because I'm not thinking about 2026. I'm thinking about 2050 and my grandkids and their grandkids. That's how you build generational wealth, not by thinking about today, by thinking about decades. So if you ever catch yourself thinking, where will I be in 10 years? Or what do I want in 2035? You're richer than you think. Because most people can't think past Friday. Sig number 6. You track your net worth, not your salary. Here's sign number 6. You stopped caring about your salary and started caring about your net worth. See, poor people brag about how much they make. I make $80,000 a year. Cool. How much do you keep? Rich people? We don't talk about income. We talk about net worth. Because income is what flows through you. Net worth is what stays. You can make $200,000 a year and have a net worth of 0. I've seen it. Happens all the time. Or you can make $50,000 a year and have a net worth of $500,000. Which one is richer? The guy making $200,000 with nothing, or the guy making $50,000 with $500,000? Exactly. So, if you've ever opened a spreadsheet and calculated, okay, my assets are X dollars, my debts are Y dollars, my net worth is, you're richer than you think, because you understand the only number that actually matters. Sign number 7. You stopped comparing yourself to others. Sign number 7. You stopped feeling jealous when other people win. This one's hard, really hard, because we're wired to compare. Your friend gets a promotion, makes more money, buys a new house. And poor people, they feel jealous, resentful. Why them? Why not me? But rich people, we're happy for them. Genuinely. Why? Because we understand something. There's enough for everyone. Your friend's success doesn't take away from yours. Their win doesn't mean you lose. In fact, their success might help you. Maybe they'll invest in your business. Maybe they'll introduce you to someone. Maybe they'll teach you something. See, poor people think the world is a pie. If someone gets a bigger slice, there's less for me. Rich people know the world is a bakery. We can make more pies. So, if you've ever felt genuinely happy when someone else succeeds, if you've celebrated a friend's raise or promotion without that twinge of jealousy, you're richer than you think. Because you've got an abundance mindset, and that's worth more than money. Sign number 8. You started saying no to money. And here's the 8th sign, the last one. You started saying no to money. This sounds crazy, right? Warren, I need more money. Why would I say no? Because when you're broke, you say yes to everything. Someone offers you $100 to do something you hate. You do it. Someone wants to pay you $50 an hour, but it takes time away from building your business. You take it. You say yes to every opportunity because you need the money. But when you start building wealth, something shifts. You start saying no. No, I'm not taking that freelance gig. It's not worth my time. No, I'm not working overtime this weekend. I need to invest in my side business. No, I'm not doing that favor for $50. My time is worth more. See, when you say no to money, it means you understand time is more valuable than money. You can make more money. You can't make more time. So, if you've ever turned down money, not because you're lazy, but because it wasn't worth your time, you're richer than you think. Because you're thinking like someone who has options, and options are wealth. Now, let me be very clear about something. These 8 signs, they don't mean you're actually rich, not yet, but they mean you're thinking like a rich person, and that comes first. Because here's the truth. You can give a poor person $10 million, and in 5 years, they'll be broke again. Why? Because they still think like a poor person. But you can take everything away from a rich person, leave them with 0, and in 5 years, they'll be wealthy again. Why? Because they think like a rich person. The mindset comes first, the money follows. So if you recognize 3 or more of these signs in yourself, you're on the right path. You're building the foundation. You're thinking the way wealthy people think. Keep going, don't stop. Because most people never get here. Most people spend their whole lives thinking like consumers, like broke people. But you're different. So here's my question for you. How many of these 8 signs do you have? Be honest. Count them up. And then comment below, I have out of 8. That's it. Just that. And here's what each number means. 0 to 2 signs. You're still thinking like a consumer. It's time to shift. Start with 1, just 1. 3 to 4 signs. You're in transition. You're changing. Keep going. You're halfway there. 5 to 6 signs. You're building real wealth. You think differently than most people. Don't stop now. 7 to 8 signs. You think like me. You're going to be wealthy. It's just a matter of time. So, which one are you?